Happy Monday, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Creative Hustle. Today, we are joined by vegan YouTuber Liv B. And not only is she a YouTuber here on the East Coast, but she is also a new author of a cookbook, Vegan on a Budget. Welcome, Liv.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem. So we do this new thing on the podcast where we each kind of talk about a little struggle that we've had this week.
Okay, cool.
Or how your week was going. It doesn't have to be a struggle.
It can be positive or negative or anything like that. So have you had any, like, business-wise or personal life-wise?
Yeah, actually, I got a puppy.
Oh my God.
That's a struggle in itself.
So, like, balancing taking care of her and then also trying to keep up with all my work, like, since I own my own business and, like, I'm self-employed, I don't have anyone else to do the stuff for me. So it's, like, keeping up with that while also trying to take care of a dog.
You're like a mom now.
Yeah, I feel like a mom. I'm like, how do people have real kids?
What kind of puppy?
She's a Bernese Husky mix.
Oh my gosh, so cute, but so busy.
What's your name, Willa?
Willa, yeah.
So Willa.
And you just moved. You bought a house.
Yes, a couple weeks ago.
So your life is like so hectic right
Yeah,
now.
it was like hectic moving in, and then we got the dog kind of like unexpectedly. Like we didn't expect to get one so soon, but like when you see the right one, then you just know,
you
so.
have to have your dog.
Yeah.
You're like, she has to come home.
Yeah.
Isn't like one of the main reasons for like getting a house to get a dog?
That's actually why I wanted it.
Yeah, me too.
I need a house.
That was my life a few years ago.
Now you're like a little family. Yeah. That's so cute. Yeah. So I guess what about you two? Have you guys had any struggles or any positive things?
Yeah, lots of things. I wasn't prepared this week. So last week was a bit more of a slow week. So it was nice. I kind of was able to catch my breath. And then yesterday was like the end of the day was Tuesday. And I was like, this feels like Friday. It's been so intense this week already, but in a really good way. Like last week, like I said, was more slow. So this week has been like a lot of hustle, a lot of oat in the community. We are trying to expand our market and our services. So I'm really using the next 3 months as a push. So rather than, typically I'm using these next 3 months just to like coast before my wedding season, but now I want to capitalize on this time. So it's been a busy couple of weeks.
Like expanding, do you mean like do more corporate stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So right now we primarily plan weddings. So that means we're, as you guys know, but Liv, it might be news to you, we're primarily executing our events between May and October. And then when we call it the off season, we're basically just working on our events that we have coming up the next season. But as a team, we've decided that we want to take on more events in our off season. So that looks like more corporate events, more social events, more working with not-for-profits and doing, different things, making more use of our time. So now instead of
making more
money, exactly. So we need to, as CEO of the company, really need to put in the work, I feel like now in 2019, so that this becomes more of our reality in 2020.
For us, this week has been kind of hectic. I can't believe it's only Wednesday.
I know. I feel like it's Friday.
It's Friday.
I don't know
Like
why.
you said.
Yeah.
But yesterday I took a snow day because the weather was pretty bad and my parents are moving, so I was helping them pack up. We have a corporate video, and I feel like, Jane and I were like a broken record saying this, but our off season, we always say like we have an off season. This year has been anything but an off season. Like we're so busy, which is great. We're getting booked, but I find like it's like video editing, meeting, podcast, meeting, video.
Yeah.
Like we're so busy, and the more and more like we're working and have these full packed days, the more and more I'm like, oh my God, like in the future we need to hire somebody.
I know.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this shoot for this corporate client, and we always say like we keep on learning as we go, and like because you mess up as entrepreneurs and then you learn from it. And anyway, so we were working with this corporate client, and they wanted the videos turned around way faster than we normally do it. And here we are scrambling to do it for them. But now we're like, oh, in our contracts, we should put, if you want like a rush edit, we should charge for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because we're giving up other things. We're canceling meetings. We're like giving up opportunities for this
Staying
rush
late.
edit. Yeah, totally. And we also were talking about how this client, like, they're kind of hard to get a hold of.
And then once they get a hold of us, they're like, okay, now let's do it.
Yeah.
So we could also put like a clause in our contract that like I could totally see them being the type of clients who won't give us revisions until like 2 weeks after we deliver the video. And then it's like, we're on to other things. Where are we going to make time? So put a clause in our contract in one of the terms that says like, you must give your revisions in 48 hours. Yeah.
So it's just,
we're always learning.
It's always learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll jump right into it. So Liv, I guess I'm going to ask you the hardest question. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. So I am a vegan recipe creator and YouTuber. So I have a blog, an Instagram, and a YouTube channel, and I just published my first cookbook, which came out in February. So
cool.
Yeah.
So how did you like get into YouTube?
So I started YouTube just as a hobby. When I went vegan, I watched a lot of YouTube to get recipe ideas, and I just loved that people shared recipes and helped other people kind of like figure out what to eat when they go vegan, because I had no idea what to eat. So like watching YouTube really helped. So when I started kind of coming up with my own recipes, I was like, maybe I'll just make videos and I'll share them with people. And like, it was while I was still in school, so I didn't expect it to turn into anything really. And then I had a viral video about 8 months after I started, and it just like immediately became my job.
So cool. So
Amazing.
when you saw that your video went viral, what was that like?
It was crazy. Like normally my videos over the course of like a week would get 100 or like 200 views.
Yeah.
And this one got like 1,000 views in a couple hours.
Wow.
And so I was like,
So what do you think, what was the thing about that video that made it so interesting?
It's so like, it's really hard to know.
Okay.
But it was like a bento box school lunch ideas video, which was kind of like unique. And it had a really cool thumbnail. Like it was like all colorful and like
Thumbnails.
Yeah. And so it was like super eye catching, and it was also something unique. And then it was also like back to school season in the US. It was like mid-August. So I think, timing. And then also I think that was before the algorithm changed to make it harder for your videos to go viral. But it was kind of like before that time, and so somehow it just got picked up and put on like the main suggested page, and there was people commenting on it being like, I watch gaming videos, like why is this vegan lunch video suggested? And I was like, I don't know, but like welcome.
Glad it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
amazing.
so cool. So is it weird to go back to like Chris and I think about this all the time, like go back to some of our first videos and we're like, oh my God, like it's so bad. But really it's not that bad. But you know, it's because you're just starting.
Yeah.
Like do you do that with your videos?
Yeah, I can't even watch them because like that was before I filled in my eyebrows. So like I look at myself and I'm like, the struggle. Oh my God.
Now you have like a glow out.
Yeah. No, I actually did. And then also like my video quality had a glow up too.
Yeah.
Big time.
Nice. So I kind of have a question about like the logistics of it all. So it's kind of unheard of around here to be, you know, a YouTuber as an occupation, and it's so amazing that you did it. But what are the logistics of it? Like, what is it like when you're filing taxes or when you go to apply for a mortgage? And like, do you say I'm a YouTuber, and do people take you seriously? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so for all of my apartments that I ever had, I had to have a cosign, and same with my car. Like they just don't, even though I put self-employed, when you have to fill out like what you do and like what your job duties are, I'm like, I make cooking videos, and they're like, yeah, like we're gonna need your parents to sign this too. And I'm like, oh God. With my mortgage, it was better because they take, like I had my business established for long enough that they can look at that, like my corporation, and see
income over time.
Yeah. So my mortgage I could get by myself, but for the most part, people like don't really understand. Like I have in interviews and stuff for my cookbook, people were like, "So, do you like? Is this your job?" And I'm like,
"Oh, we talk about that all the time.
That's the worst.
So, like, what do you really do? Like during the week?
Yeah,
like,
what's your real job?
What's your real job? So you do this at night, but what do you do in the day?
Yeah,
I do this in the day.
So annoying. So you just keep pressing on and.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't even know how to really convince people other than I'm just like, because you don't want to be like, I've had like this much success and whatever. So it's like, this is my job. Like you can go look at my channel. And then usually when they're like, oh my God, you have like 640,000 subscribers. Like, oh, I get it now.
Kayla Short told us something one time that was really profound. She was talking to like her aunt or something, and she's a blogger, and she kept like apologizing. Her aunt said, "Stop apologizing for what you do. You don't have to explain it to anybody."
Yeah.
And I think we do that too. Like, we're videographers, but we do it full time. We
Yeah,
have an
you kind of
office.
come in
We're
with the
like,
butt and you're like,
yeah,
but yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, you have to like continue to validate yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I used to I had a little giggle with what I said. So when people were like, "What do you do?" I'd be like, "Oh, I'm a wedding
I
planner."
still do that.
You know,
sometimes,
it
yeah.
was like this little giggle, but that little giggle was saying so much about, you know, how confident I was as a business owner, and it meant like I had like zero confidence versus saying when, you know, a great aunt or a grandparent or someone asks you, "What do you do?" "I'm an event planner. I'm a wedding planner." "Oh, here in Halifax?" "Yep, right here in Halifax, full time. Bought my host, bought my car, all of those things."
Did you have to like get co-signers and stuff for any of that?
No, but I was 5-6 years in, so for my first vehicle that I got once I was in the business, I leased it under the business, so that was, I guess, an okay thing. And then I was probably talking about getting a mortgage for 3 years before I was actually able to get the mortgage. I wanted to get a house 3 years before I actually could have gotten my house, but it was like, okay, I want a house. So now the next 2 years of like company income statements and personal income statements need to look like this, so that I can go into the bank and drop it down and be like, okay, house please.
Yeah.
And they would actually, you know, consider
and even
me.
then, it
was still a challenge.
You're still jumping through hoops. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just one of those things when you're self-employed. Like, I think we're always going to constantly have to deal with that.
Yeah. So, Liv, do you find you have to validate yourself more with like your family, or is it just like people out and about? Because I feel like we've talked about before it's more like our family. Like, you know, that aunt at the Christmas dinner is like, "Oh, so like, are you keeping busy? Like, my grandfather's always like, what does he say? He's like, feed the wolves when they come," or something like that. And it basically means like pay your bills on time. And I'm like, "Grampy, I know, like I got this."
Yeah. I think it's kind of both. Like, my family has started to accept it, but every time I still see my grandma, she's like, "So are you still doing those videos?" And I'm like, "Yeah, every week." But yeah, it's other people too, especially with interviews and stuff. It's usually like older interviewers, and they just like don't get it. So
Yeah, I feel like if you were a YouTuber in like LA, people would be like, "Oh, cool, you're a YouTuber."
yeah.
But like here,
even in Toronto,
I feel like no one's really a YouTuber here.
No.
Like, so we did videos with you for CBC, and that's how we like met you and stuff. And I was just like, "Oh my God, there's a YouTuber here! Like, that's so cool."
I know. We were like, who is that?
So one of my things, like going to your point, Jane, about like people actually taking you seriously, was like they didn't ever take me seriously until I had something to show, until I had, you know, a website that had 15 galleries of actual paid clients, until I had a book that they could put in their hands. And up until that point, it was kind of like, "Oh, ha ha ha, silly girl." And then all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, now we're actually proud of her because she has this to show." I think I read something super profound one time that said, it takes 10 years for anyone to think that you are an overnight success. 10 years of hustle for the world to think that you were an overnight success. So can you talk a little bit about that, Liv? Because I'm thinking, you know, a lot of people would watch your videos and see you in your home just cooking what you naturally do and think, "Oh, well, she just got lucky," or "She just had a big break because of that one video." But it's not. There was a lot of hustle that went behind all of that.
Yeah, and I think when you have something like a viral video, like lots of people on social media kind of go viral and have like overnight success, but I did it for 8 months, making videos, making no money, getting no views, but like putting the same amount of effort into them and learning so much and putting my own money into it. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't 10 years, but it was a ton of work before that one blew up. And if I had posted that one first, it probably wouldn't have been as good quality, but and that went viral, but I had nothing else behind it, then people would be like, "Oh, I'm not going to subscribe to her. Like, it's just a video that I watch and forget."
Exactly.
But because I had all that behind me,
put in the work before, and then it had legs to stand on, essentially.
Yeah.
And how did you start like turning income from this? So you started out doing it and, you know, you weren't making income, but now you're just such a brand and you have your book out and your YouTube and your vlogging and podcast and Instagram and all the things. How did you start the process of like turning income?
Yeah, so basically how you earn money on YouTube is through, it's called AdSense. So whenever there's an ad, like a McDonald's ad or Coca-Cola that plays before a YouTube video, the creator of that video gets some ad revenue from that. So the advertisers pay YouTube, and then YouTube pays the creators based on how many views you get. So if you get a substantial amount of views, it's honestly like cents per view. It's like a cent per view. But if you get a good amount of views, then you can actually
Monetize.
you can monetize it. So that's kind of when my video went viral and got a ton of views all at once. Then that was kind of like my first paycheck. And
They
then
just
after
sent
that,
it to you, or did they contact you?
Yeah, so I had set my
didn't know
channel
that.
up to be monetized, and then you have to reach $100 before they send you any money. And so that month, I think I made in a month $800 from
Yeah.
So now I make money through AdSense, but it's not enough to live on.
Yeah.
So I have that, and then I have the sponsored videos that I do too.
And do you have corporate sponsors who you work with as well?
Yeah.
So did you ever have to be set up with like a creative agent or anything like that?
I kind of just started out doing it myself, and like people just contacted me for the first few. I was like not reaching out to anyone. They just came to me, and I was like, okay, like you want to pay me to talk about this random thing? Sure. And I took all of them, which like in hindsight was not a good idea. I did stuff that wasn't really on brand, but like I was just so excited. But now I have a manager. She actually is in New York, but since everything's online, then she can just kind of work remotely, and she like fields all of my emails and deals with all that.
Do you find that helpful?
Yeah. It just saves a lot of time, because I'm sure you guys know with like even with contracts and stuff, there's so much back and forth, and it takes a lot of time.
And like we spend, I feel, more time like working on the business and like with emails than actually doing what we do, which is filming and editing videos.
And that's the fun part.
Yeah, that's why you get into it in the first place.
I think like videos is probably like 40% of our business at this point in time.
Yeah. So before you took on YouTube full time, what were you like in school, or what was did you work, or?
Yeah, so I had I think I was in my third year when it kind of blew up. So I had 1 year left of my degree. I was in communications at the Mount, and I had done 2 co-ops at that point too. And so I was like, I wanted to quit and just like do it full time. But my parents were like, we're not going to force you to stay in school, but like, we really think you should get a degree. And I'm so glad I did. So I finished out that year and like did YouTube full time and that, and kind of like hid it from everyone because I was still embarrassed about it. But then after I was done my degree, I just went into it full time.
And in school, did people like know you did that? Like, were they like, oh, Liv does YouTube?
A couple people, they're like, I found your channel online. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I remember like in high school, I love YouTube, and I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I was like too scared because I like didn't want people to think I was weird or whatever. But in hindsight now, I'm like, how cool would it be? I would be like 5 years.
You would be like Liv.
Yeah, I know. Like,
exactly.
I totally wish I just didn't care what other people thought, and I just like went with what I thought was fun.
And it's always good to have degrees and a backup plan, because with social mediums like Instagram and YouTube, it might not always be there forever. It could be,
It definitely won't be.
It won't. Yeah,
especially
exactly.
Instagram.
So that's so good that you've built your brand, and you know you have your website and you have your cookbook, and like you have a brand beyond YouTube, which is really smart. And you have a degree, so you're killing the game.
But the communications degree from Mount St. Vincent, that whole PR program over there, it sets you up to go right into I'm talking to Mount alum here.
Wow,
It sets you up for success.
2 Mount alumni
Go to
who are also
msvu.ca.
authors.
Yeah,
so
this
you guys
is true.
can relate
You're
on that.
right.
Yeah. So what was it like going through the process of like writing a book?
And did you self-publish?
No, I have a publisher.
You have a publisher?
Yeah. So I was contacted by a publisher called Robert Rose. They're in Toronto. And I just got an email from them being like, have you ever considered a book? Like, we have this idea. And I was kind of like, I don't know if this is legit, but like, I'll talk to them.
Sounds
and then
like too good to be true.
Yeah.
Do you want a book? I'd be like, hell yeah.
I was like, seems fake. But another YouTuber who I'm actually friends with, she published her book through them. And so I realized through talking to them that they were her publisher. And so I had a call with them, and they were like, we've been looking at your channel for like 8 weeks, and we've been like watching you. And I was
That's
like,
the way to do it. Yes, they're paying attention to you.
And paying attention to like my views and everything, because obviously that was kind of like their game plan was to have my audience essentially. But so they kind of like pitched me an idea for like a budget friendly book. And so I was like, that sounds pretty good. And then I signed the contract, and it was like a 15-month schedule to have it from start to pub date. And just
that just goes to show, like, so Kristen and I watch this podcast, The Morning Toast, and one of the girls on it, Claudia, she's like a comedian and like just does everything, and she always says, like, perform as if like a big time movie producer is watching.
Yeah, because they are.
Yeah, because literally your publisher was always watching you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So like that's so cool.
true.
Or might not have always been watching you, but would have gone back through and watched, probably that first one that went viral, and then the experience of how you've changed ever since then. So, it is an interesting thing.
Yeah, so like I said before, we did videos with you for CBC, and we actually met your mom, and we were talking to her when we were shooting at your apartment, and we were just talking about how it's like crazy that you like make YouTube videos for a living, like that's so cool. And we were just like, what is it like when you like tell people that your daughter does that? She was like, oh, it's weird. Like, what do you think about that? Like, isn't it weird to just be like, yeah, I make YouTube videos for a living?
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It is. Because people, like, don't understand it, or if they do, they're like, I don't know, I get like still just confused that like how I guess you actually get paid from it. Like I think people with Instagram are starting to understand like sponsored posts and stuff, but even with YouTube, unless you like watch a lot of YouTube, you don't really know how people get paid.
Well, it's like these gamers that make millions of dollars.
Like streaming.
Gaming. Gamers make millions of dollars from streaming.
There's two of them in Halifax.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
Wow, so
And literally,
crazy.
they're just like gaming.
I'm in the wrong business.
No, you're not in the wrong business.
Honestly,
You're just in
they have to sit for like 12 hours a day and like stream Fortnite.
Right.
It is a business, so they actually have to like pay for the streaming service. Like they put money into it. It's not like they just started one day
And they
and
have
they
to
were
file
like,
taxes too.
Right.
They do have to file
Exactly.
taxes. I was talking to my husband about it because I was like, why would you as a consumer, sponsor, because that's what you do to gamers is you sponsor them. And why would you do that? And he was saying, well, he doesn't play like the Fortnites and those types of things. But, me as if he was like, if I were to do it, I'll probably never get to the, these battle royales. I'll probably never get to like the final person there or the final three people there. So this is my opportunity to sort of learn and experience. But it's like, how does that, man or woman explain to his grandparents that, I sit on my couch all day long and I play Xbox and people pay me to do that. But
it's crazy the mediums in today's world that like can generate revenue and a job. It's just wild and amazing because people, sometimes it's a struggle working in the creative industry, but like you're doing so good and it's amazing to see that.
Who cares? Who cares what anyone else thinks? If they don't get it, that's their problem, not mine to be embarrassed about.
Well, I feel like they're gonna think it maybe is weird when you have like when you're just starting out and you have like 20 views or something, or like a gamer when they have like 20 views on a stream. But like once like you are making money from doing like cool shit like that, people are gonna be like, oh wow, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like that's why people like big YouTubers and stuff post kind of like extravagant things like new cars and stuff because it's almost like they're trying to validate to people that like I am actually doing well with this and like haters back off.
Haters back
Seriously.
off.
I just wanted to know what your daily struggles are as a digital entrepreneur. Like in the confined spaces of your house, that's where you're running your business.
Yeah. So I think like the age-old struggle of like keeping business and personal life separate, I'm really bad at that, and I'm so bad for just like working all day and like not scheduling breaks or like not taking any free time for myself to read a book or like do anything besides like editing or taking photos or planning things or working. So that's kind of like my biggest struggle, and also just like working in my set, which is my kitchen, where I also cook my personal food and all of that. It's like it just mixes all together, and it can sometimes feel like it's like the business is your life. And so whenever people like criticize something like it, something in my house or something in my life, it feels so personal because I'm not really good at keeping it separate.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm working on for sure.
Yeah, and it would be harder if you are working in in your house, in your home, and everything's there.
Because you can't just leave it at the door when you come home.
Because we can separate, because we come in here and we're like, okay, this is work. And then when we go home, we don't worry so much about our emails and, you know, our Instagram posts.
Do you have any tips for how to separate that if someone, because I feel like a lot of our listeners work at home and are entrepreneurs in that way. So how do you like separate it?
Yeah, so I've been trying to, especially with the dog, like this week I have to schedule like naps for her and then schedule time for her to go outside. Amazing. Yeah, and so that's kind of been like easier for me to block out my day, and I literally write down like every hour of the day, and I block out times for me to take a break and like go outside and walk her and stuff. And that just kind of has like solidified to me that in order to separate the business and personal, you have to like literally write it out and force it to be separate. So I think like blocking out your times, and then also just making sure that you take a minute to clear your space. Like I find I have like work stuff everywhere all over my house, and that can also feel like when you're going room to room, it's like it's just all work stuff everywhere, and like you're like, oh, I forgot to do this, oh, I forgot to like file this or whatever. So if you just keep it all in like an office or whatever, I have a home office, then I find that a lot easier than working at my kitchen table and then feeling like
on your couch,
yeah,
in your bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. I'd be like, oh, I just want a nap actually.
that was we at one point we were like, okay, we'll have our office before we came here at home, and we lived together, and then all I could think of was like, oh, there's totally gonna be times when we're like, okay, let's just go have a nap.
Like if I could just like see my bed, I'm just like,
that's all you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Any tips for people who want to get a start on YouTube?
My biggest tip, I get this question a lot, is to just start and make your first video. Like don't try and plan it, don't try and go out and like find the best equipment right away. Just make your first video, and it's gonna be bad. Like you're going to look back on it, no matter how good you like try and make it, it's going to be bad. But I think people just get paralyzed by wanting the first one to be perfect. So just doing it no matter what and posting it is like the only way to actually get your stars.
And just be consistent, and and it'll happen. Just work hard.
That's awesome. So where can people find you? So you have YouTube, cookbook, Instagram, anything else? Like tell us all your handles.
Okay, so YouTube is just Liv B, and then I have a vlog channel called Liv B Lifestyle. My Instagram is at It's Liv B. My cookbook is Liv B's Vegan on a Budget, and my website is itslivb.com.
Cool. And where can people find the cookbook? Amazon,
or if they're here, Chapters or Costco.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you
for having me.